Hey everyone, and welcome to Isms by Josie. Today we're going to be doing another itty bitty knit kit from Five Below. For my returning subscribers, thank you so much for tuning in. And for my new viewers, please consider subscribing, share, hit that like button, leave a comment below, and click on that notification bell for future videos. So today, you guys, we are doing another itty bitty knit kit from Five Below. Today we're going to be working on pumpkin pie. This kit is really cute. This is a viewer request. If you have a request, please comment below. Also, if you don't want to wait for me to find the kit, because I do have to find the kits when you request them, and it could take me however long, because not all Five Belows are the same. I would recommend taking a clear image and emailing me. The information of that is in the description box below or on my channel page. Alright, so this kit includes, there's a lot of stuff here. We've got some felt stickers, knitting needles. We have some felt pieces that we'll probably have to sew together. This might be a sticker actually. We got a sewing needle, some stuffing, a spool of yarn, and it looks like a pipe cleaner. Wow. Okay, so let's get into this. This video is a supplement to the kit. If you want to make this kit, I highly recommend that you go and to your local Five Below or on their website and get the kit so that you can make this. I don't show instructions. I don't let you know how many of what you're going to need. You know, anything that is tagged onto the copyright, I'm not going to be sharing. So I'm just going to be showing you how to do a knit stitch, how to cast on stitches, and how to sew it together. So, yeah. Alright, so here's a spool of yarn. Here's the pouch. Inside this pouch we have the knitting needles. We have the stuffing. We have the plastic sewing needle. Oh, this is a felt piece that I don't know how we're going to stick on here. There's no place to sew it. Interesting. We've got the felt stickers for the eyes and the mouth. And I guess this is for the whip. It's like a fluffy pipe cleaner, which is kind of cool feeling actually. So just so that all this stuff is all in one place and it doesn't get dirty, I'm going to put all that loose stuff in there along with the stuffing, along with the plastic sewing needle. I'm not going to squish this in there, so I'm just going to put this back in the box. And we're going to get straight into it. Alright, what I like about this instructional booklet is that they do provide text and illustrations for you to do this project. I do it my way. You can either follow the book or you can follow this video, whichever is easiest for you. I also like this booklet because it does come with its own ruler. So you can go and measure out what you need to measure out without having to get an extra ruler, so that's great. Okay, so I'm going to show you the spool, and then the first step is to find the length of the tail, but I'll do that after. So here's a spool of yarn. This is, I guess, the only color we're going to be using, which is great. What I like to do when I get these big spools of yarn with the little paper bands around them, I like to pull from the inside. If you pull from the outside, you have to remove the band and then it's going to roll around. If you don't want that happening, luckily there's a piece, the other end, from the inside. If you don't have this just sticking out, I would go in and pull in a chunk. It might be a big chunk, it might be a small chunk, but you want to be able to get the end out. You could sort out the chunk, but then after you get it going, all you gotta do is put a paperweight down and pull, and you get all the yarn as much as you need. It's not going to roll around. Very easy. So I recommend doing that. Okay. So like I said, I'm going to go off camera real quick and measure out the tail. You can do the same and I'll come back in and we'll start. Alright, so I have measured out the tail. Here it is right here. What you want to do is keep the tail down out of your way. I'm draping this over the edge of my table. Then this attached to the spool is called the feeder yarn. You want to keep the feeder yarn up and away. That way you never confuse the two. You don't want to accidentally use the tail to knit because obviously you'll run out very quickly. So I'm keeping this pinched right at where the measurement is supposed to be for the tail. What we're going to do now is do a slip knot, and we're going to use our hands to start it. So keep this pinched. We're going to take the middle and ring finger and just hold the yarn apart like this. You can have this a little loose. We're going to take our two fingers here and push up the yarn. We're going to twist down, and then I'm going to take my index and middle finger. We're going to grab the feeder yarn and pull it through that loop, creating a huge knot like that. So what we got to do is push this knot down towards the left thumb. We're going to pull from the top end here. You don't want to pull from the feeder yarn. So start pulling from the top, pushing that knot as close to the thumb as you can get it. Okay, if you see it and you know how to work the knot, try to get it to where it's close to the thumb. This is going to prevent the amount of waste, excessive waste that you have from the tail. So I'm closing this knot up to my thumb. That's great, because this is the amount of waste that I'm using. Very minimal. Now from here, what you can do is take the tail, and we're going to pull the tail out just to make that knot a little more snug. You don't have to pull it too tight, because now we're going to have to make this loop small. So grab the knot right here. We're going to take the feeder yarn now, and you're going to pull the feeder yarn. You're going to pull it till that loop gets smaller. You want to make it small enough to fit 2 knitting needles, like that. So then you're going to take your knitting needles and you're going to slip them through that loop. You can make the loop larger or smaller using the feeder yarn. And then we're ready to go. Okay, keep your tail down, feeder yarn up. Alright, so now for the instructions, ooh, this only takes 2 rectangles, so I like that. Now what we're going to do is gather up some feeder yarn on our finger. We're going to learn how to cast on stitches. Now for this instruction, they just use knit stitches. Knit stitches are the basic stitches in knitting. They're also how you create new stitches and how you cast them on. So the instructions tell you to cast on a certain number of stitches. I'm going to teach you how to do it 3 times, step by step, and then I'm going to go my normal pace. If you click on the gear button in the corner, there's a playback option to go fast or slow. If you don't need to hear me talk, you can lower the volume on your device and click on the CC closed caption button. Alright, so let's do the first one. What we need to do first is get into your knit stitch position. The knit stitch position is an X. Now for the X, you want the right needle on the bottom and the left needle on top. You also want your feeder yarn in the back. You have to make sure that this is how it is. You don't want to switch your needles. That's a different stitch altogether. You don't want to have your feeder yarn in the front. That's a different stitch altogether. So make sure your right needle is in the back, your left needle is on top, and your feeder yarn is in the back. Now we're going to wrap around the right needle with this feeder yarn. we're going to go back to forward and down. So you always want to keep your needles touching. If you don't keep it touching, I'm going to show you what it looks like. You have your needles and then you have your feeder yarn that you can clearly see in between. That is not good. This is how you can lose your feeder yarn. This is how you can lose stitches. Basically, you always want to maintain contact with your needles. If you have contact with your needles, you're going to see this. See how you no longer see the feeder yarn? You see just a little dot of where the two needles touch, and you always want that contact. That way you don't lose your feeder yarn. It's not going to slip out of that contact. We have our feeder yarn in this cradle space here, which is exactly what we need to do the next step. So what we're going to do is slide the left needle down the right needle over the point and down the back, maintaining contact at all times. This is going to force the feeder yarn through the loop. So let's do that now. Slide the left over the right. You're going to see that it pushes that feeder yarn through the loop. And now we have a new stitch on the right needle. To cast on, we are casting on to the left needle. So we just have to transfer this stitch over to this needle. To do that, take your left needle, stick it through the new stitch we just created. We're going to lift it off the right needle and it stays on the left needle. So now we have 2 stitches. Let's do this again. Stick your needle into the next stitch. We're going to get into our knit position, which is an X. You want your right needle in the back, left needle on top, feeder yarn in the back. You want to maintain contact. All right, so now we're going to wrap our feeder yarn around the right needle. We're going to go back to forward. And then when we go down, you're going to feel or hear it snap if you have contact. So that I felt snap. That makes any sense? And again, when you touch your needles together, you won't see the feeder yarn. You'll see that one point of contact with your needles. We're now going to slide the left needle down the right needle over the point and over the back, maintaining contact. That is going to push the feeder yarn through that loop, creating a new stitch on the right needle. To cast on to the left, we're going to take our left needle, pick up the new stitch, lift it up off the right needle, and now we have 3 stitches on our left needle. One more time with you guys. Stick the needle into the new stitch here, get into your knit stitch position, which is an X, right needle on the bottom, left needle on top, and then we have our feeder yarn in the back. We're going to wrap around the right needle, maintaining contact from back to forward, and then we're going to go down. You're going to hear or feel it snap. Get it stuck in that crevice. We're now going to slide the left needle down the right needle over the point and down the back, maintaining contact, and that's going to push the feeder yarn through the new loop, creating a new stitch on the right. To cast on to the left stitch, we're just going to take our left needle through that new stitch, lift it up, and we're going to move it off the right needle, and it's going to stay on your left needle. Alright, so at this point now, you can repeat this part of the video as many times as you need until you're comfortable doing it on your own. What I'm going to do is move on ahead and complete the rest of the stitches we need, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you what to do next.
There are cameras in the alley?
No. There's cameras at the restaurant in the corner of Wisconsin and Cleveland. We've seen it coming in.
Alright, so we need to get rid of this car. We can't be seen driving it.
truck?
Yeah, how fast can you do that?
It's time to make pretty fast.
Got one of those American doctors in Mexico?
Yeah.
Good. We're gonna need him. His phone needs to be on. And he needs to be using it. That way he's still alive when he leaves here. I don't have his passcode.
We get his face out. Let's use the face recognition. Yeah, well, his eyes need to be open for that. All right, we'll open his eyes. Get the knife. I don't think it works like that. Is that the Rick?
Alright, so I've completed all the stitches that I need for this rectangle. What we're going to do next is pretty much the same thing we've been doing. So for this specific instruction, and it doesn't apply to other instructions out there, you just got to read the instructions. It's always different. But for this one, the number of stitches that we have on our needle is going to be the same number that ends up on this needle. And I'll show you what that means. But first, what I wanted to tell you is when you finish a row, you want to make sure that your project is growing downward. What I mean by that is when we start out, you might have something like this. I don't know, just twisting, turning, binding, however it is. But you want to make sure that you line up your stitches. You want it to be nice and neat. This is going to prevent you from accidentally knitting straight through a twist. I've done that before. It does happen. So you want to make sure that your stitches are in a row, and when you flip it upside down, you can see there's a very clear straight line. You want to keep your feeder yarn down and back. You'll be able to see the clear line. If your feeder yarn is up and back, it automatically twists your stitches, so you know that something isn't right. You just manipulate your feeder yarn and that brings it back to a straight line. Okay, so let's continue. We're going to do a knit stitch again. It's like we did casting on stitches. What we're not going to do is transfer it to the left. We're going to keep it onto the right. And like I said, we're going to maintain the same number of stitches we started with. So, for example, let's stick our needle into this first stitch. We're going to get into our knit stitch position. We're going to wrap around the right needle from back to front and down. Feel here it snap. Then we're going to slide this left needle down the right needle over the point and over its back, maintaining contact so that it forces the feeder yarn through that loop. And now we've created a new stitch. So before we were transferring the new stitches over to the left, we're not going to do that this time. We're going to keep the stitch here, but we're going to lose a stitch here. So to do that, we're going to scoot up our stitches. We're going to make sure we hold back all these ones here. We just want to get rid of this one. So just flick off. You can move them up more if you need to, but just flick off this stitch and that's it. So we've gained a stitch here, we lost a stitch here. Let's do another one. Stick your needle into the next stitch. We're going to get into our knit stitch position. We're going to take the feeder yarn and wrap around the right from back to forward, and down. You're going to maintain contact. You're going to feel or hear it snap. And then we're going to slide the left needle down the right needle over the point, down the back, maintaining contact. That's going to force the feeder yarn through the loop, creating a new stitch. We've gained one here, so we have to lose one here. So scoot up your stitches and then carefully just remove one stitch off your needle. So now we have 2 new stitches here and less than 2 stitches on this side. One more time with you guys. Stick your right needle into the next stitch, get into your knit stitch position. We're going to wrap the feeder yarn around the right needle, maintaining contact. From back to forward and down, you're going to feel or hear it snap. Then we're going to slide the left needle down the right needle over the point, down the back, maintaining contact. And that's going to force the feeder yarn through that loop, creating a new stitch. So now we have a new stitch here, so we're going to remove a stitch on this side. So scoot up your stitches, hold them back, just let go of this one right here. And now you should have 3 new stitches on this needle and minus 3 stitches on this needle. So I'm going to go ahead and continue doing the rest of the stitches. You can rewind this part as many times until you're comfortable, and then I'm going to come back in and I'm going to show you what to do next. Alright, so I completed all the stitches off my left needle and now they're on the right. What do I do now? Because the next row you have to have stitches on your left. So what we're going to do is just switch needles. You're going to take your left needle and slide it over to your right. That becomes your right needle. Then you're going to take your right needle and you're going to flip it to your left. And that's pretty much how you do it. And like I said, as you're doing this, you're not going to care about the bunching that's happening on your project, but you do want to make sure after every row that it's growing down. So twist your project to make sure you get a nice straight line all the way across. Like I said, it's good to see this because if you forget to keep your feeder yarn back down and back and you accidentally have it up and back, this is what happens. There's one stitch here now. Watch as I turn it up and back. Now it looks like you have 2 stitches. And I've done that in the past. So if you keep doing this, you're going to grow your project. And it's going to have, if you do it on both sides, it's going to grow out like a skirt. So I've had that done in the past. And I've ruined a couple of projects and I had to start all over. But at the same time though, when you do that, it kind of, you see how it's like, you know, going and doing one of these things, something's wrong there. So if you make sure that your project is growing down, it's going to want to pull everything down with it. So you'll know if you're holding your feeder yarn the wrong way. It's going to want to bounce back and line up with everything. So from here, we just do the same thing. You're going to pick up this now empty right needle. You have your left needle, and we're just going to do our knit stitches. Okay, so just watch the 3 that I do here, and I've already shown you this in the last row, but I'm just showing you how simple and easy it is to do these projects once you've learned to do the one stitch that it's basically having you do. And just imagine, there's about the number of stitches that you are supposed to make is almost the same amount of stitches that I use to make scarves. So if you can learn this part right here, that's really all you need to learn to make your own scarf. Can you imagine that? So this is why I also love knitting. It's a really fun and relaxing skill, I guess, and it's good for the mind and your motor skills too. But you can make so many things thereafter. See, this would be like what, a skinny scarf. And you just keep doing that back and forth until you get it long enough. Of course, you're going to need a bigger spool of yarn. But yeah, so I just completed one row and I'm doing another one, and as you can see, it's the same thing that we've been doing for the previous rows. Now before I go do this in silence, what we're going to do is build this rectangle to be the measurement that the instructions say. They give you kind of like an estimate or amount of rows, but because as a beginner your stitches might be too big or too small, you just want to make sure that the rectangle at the end of what you're doing is measuring the same amount of inches that the instructions say, so that when you sew it together, your proportions are going to be right. And at the end of the sewing, you can say that it looks the same as what's on the picture on the boxes. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead now and knit the rest in silence. Alright, so I made the rectangle as long as it's supposed to be according to the instructions. Now I'm going to show you guys how to cast off. So what we're going to do is knit 2 stitches. So go ahead and do that now. 1, 2. Then we're going to take this stitch down here. We're going to leapfrog it over the next one, and we're going to remove it off the right needle and off the left needle. So lift it up, leapfrog it over the next one. You can hold this down with your thumb so you don't lose it, but we're going to scoot this up. We're going to remove this stitch off the right needle and off the left needle. So now we just have 1 stitch left on our right needle. So you always have to have 2 to cast off. So we're going to knit another stitch. That's going to get you 2 stitches on the right needle. We're going to pick up this stitch here. We're going to leapfrog it over the next. You can hold it down with your thumb. We're going to slide this stitch off the right needle and then off the left needle. So off the right and off the left. We're back to 1. Let's knit another one last time with you guys. Okay, now we have 2 stitches again. We're going to lift this stitch up over the next one. You can hold that down with your thumb. We're going to remove this stitch off the right and off the left, back to 1. So you can repeat this part of the video as many times until you get comfortable to casting off. We're going to remove all the stitches off the left needle, and then I'm going to show you what to do with the last stitch left on the right. Alright, so I removed all the stitches off the left needle. You can put that down. Now we have this last stitch on the right needle. So what we're going to do is you're going to cut about 1 inch or so of the orange yarn. It's the only yarn of the feeder yarn. And then we're going to yarn over. So it's just wrapping the feeder yarn over the right needle. We're going to take our left needle and pick up the stitch and leapfrog it over the yarn over. You're going to use your thumb to hold that down. I'm going to scoot this up. We're going to remove the stitch off the right needle and then off the left needle. Now what we're going to do is take the right needle and pull that feeder yarn all the way through. And then pull the feeder yarn so that that loop can create a knot. And then you're done with your rectangle. So now we have 1 more rectangle to go, you guys. Yeah, it's a smaller one. It has more stitches, but it's a smaller one. So we're going to use that rectangle as a refresher course. So I won't go step by step slowly, but I'm going to review what we did in this last one in case you've forgotten or you can just rewind it back for the step by step. Okay, so off camera, I'm going to measure the tail. All right, so I measured the tail. I'm going to drape it downward out of the way. The feeder yarn we're going to have upward out of the way so we don't confuse the two. Now we're going to do a slip knot, and so you're going to hold onto this tail length very tight. We're going to take the middle and ring finger and hold the yarn apart, and that can be held kind of loosely. We're going to take our two fingers here and we're going to pull up on the yarn. We're going to turn it down to create this loop. Then I'm going to take my index and my middle finger and we're going to pull the feeder yarn through the loop, creating a large knot. So now we're going to pull this top piece here. We're not going to pull the piece that's attached to the feeder yarn. What we want to do is push this large knot towards the thumb. So let's do that now. So while we're making that knot smaller, we're also pushing it down towards the left, like this. All right, so this is going to minimize the amount of waste of yarn that you make. So look how close this is. This is a good one. So once you get to a point where you can't push this knot anymore, then you can take the tail and we're just going to pull on it a little bit, make it snug. You don't have to pull too tight, but you're going to have this huge loop now. So hold on to the knot. We're going to pull the feeder yarn and we're going to pull it to where that loop can fit 2 knitting needles. Okay. Then you're going to put your knitting needles in the loop. You can tighten it up by pulling the feeder yarn if you need to, or loosen it if you need to. And then we're going to start. Just get some feeder yarn here. And then we have to cast on our stitches. So the instructions give you the number of stitches you need. We're going to get into our knit stitch position and we're going to start knitting our, we're going to cast on our stitches. So again, that's doing the knit stitch and then transferring the stitch onto the left needle. So we're just going to do this however many times the instruction says, but we are casting on these stitches onto the left needle. All right, so after you cast on your stitches, make sure that your project is growing downward. You can check by this row of stitches here. It should be in a straight line. You want to make sure that your feeder yarn is down and back, not up and back, because it'll twist your project as well. But from here, now we can do our knit stitches, but instead of casting on, we're going to leave them on the right needle by just, when I pierce the yarn there, by just creating the new stitch and then removing one stitch on the left needle, so that whatever number you started on the left needle, you'll end up with the same number of stitches on the right needle. So just keep knit stitching, creating new stitches, and then losing it off the left. So we gain one, we lose one, gain one, we lose one. Just keep that going till you do the whole entire left needle. And by the time you're done, the left needle will be left with nothing. And then the right needle, like I said, is going to have the same number of stitches you started with. So as you see, you guys, the more you do this, the more uniform your stitches will be, but also the quicker you're going to be at doing this. And then the longer you've knitted in your lifetime, you can do it to where you're not looking, really, because the motor skill will be in there and you'll kind of like just automatically know the motion. You can feel the stitches with your fingers. And I really just watch movies all the time and knit unless I'm filming. But anyway, once you get to this point here, what do? Because we need stitches on the left to continue the new row. So we just switch the left needle to our right needle. Then we take the right needle and we flip it over to our left side and make it our left needle. Now again, you want to make sure that your project is growing downward and that the stitches are straight, because if it's not and you don't have your feeder yarn down and back, if it's up and back, this one stitch here, as you see, will turn into 2 stitches, and that will mess up your whole project. And it also kind of bunches, it wants to turn upward. So just make sure that it's down and back and that your stitches are in a straight line. All right, so from here, I'm going to repeat these steps until I reach the length that the instructions are asking me to do in silence. Alright, so I made the rectangle the size that it's supposed to be, and now I'm just going to recap you guys on how to cast off. So we do 2 knit stitches, and then we leapfrog the bottom stitch over the next, off the right and off the left needle. Then we have to knit another stitch because you always need 2 stitches to do the leapfrog. So pick up this next stitch, leapfrog it over, remove it off the right, remove it off the left. One more time with you guys, do another knit stitch. We're gonna lift up this stitch, leapfrog it over, remove it off the right and remove it off the left. So we just keep doing this until we remove all of the stitches off the left needle, and then I'm going to go back in and show you what to do with the last stitch that'll end up on the right needle. And so we're almost there, you guys. After we get this rectangle done, we're going to start sewing this pumpkin together. So I'm really excited about it. Comment below or click that like button if you like pumpkin pie. I do like pumpkin pie. I like making my own. There are other pies that I like, but definitely do the pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving. But I think that's where I stand with that. Like, I don't go and do other pumpkin anything, unfortunately. I haven't jumped on that bandwagon yet. I will try like a pumpkin donut or something like that, but you know, I don't do the pumpkin spice coffees. Just, you know, it just gets a little extra to me, and Thanksgiving is probably one of my favorite foods ever. Favorite foods, like it's a special food. Favorite meals ever. So I like to not, you know, do that too much, because I feel like it's going to ruin the magic of Thanksgiving. I think a lot of people get excited over Christmas or Easter, and if you're all about the corned beef, even St. Patrick's Day, something like that. But my number one favorite is Thanksgiving meals. So let me know what yours is. Alright, so we're down to our last stitch around here. What we're going to do is take our scissor, cut about 1 inch or so, and then again we are going to do the yarn over. So that's putting the feeder yarn over the needle. We're going to take our other needle and leapfrog this stitch over the yarn over, remove it off the left, remove it off the right. Then we're going to take the right needle and pull that feeder yarn all the way out, and then we're going to tighten it by pulling on the end piece here. It's going to create a knot, and then we've completed our rectangles. So now that we have these 2 rectangles, we're going to go ahead and start sewing. So let's get back into that packet that we put in the box here. We're also going to need our little crust. We're going to pull out the plastic sewing needle, and we're going to start with the larger rectangle. You're going to take the tail and we're going to feed it through the eyelet of the sewing needle, and then we're going to start sewing this rectangle. Alright, so it looks like we have to fold the corners in so that the size of the rectangle ends up becoming the width of the crust. So an easy way to do this is actually how, let me just see where we're sewing. How does this work? We're just gonna fold something like that. All right. And then we have to fold the diamond. It's not that way, this way. I feel like that's not right. Right? Oh my gosh. Hold on, let me figure this out. Okay, so I figured it out, I think. I had it right the first time. Lay this down centered onto your rectangle. We're gonna fold in the corners to make the width of your pie crust. Okay, and then once we have that, we're going to fold these corners to meet. All right, and then that's how it's going to be shaped. So we actually need to remove this stuff. We are going to use this tail to sew the pieces together. So take the prettier side. I don't know if there will be. Yeah, I think because there's a line, an extra line here. I'm going to make that the wrong side. We're going to make this the right side. So what you want to do is sew around the edge here. It's supposed to wrap around completely, although I beg a differ on that one. Let's see. Just try to make it work, okay? So where it covers the whole thing like that. I'm not a sewer, you guys, so from this point, if you feel like you can do it better than me, by all means do so. I really am hoping for the best because I am not good at this at all. Not even close. So and then of course you're going to leave an opening so that you can stuff it. Alright, so I'm going to tuck this tail in there if I need it. I just want to reserve it in case I need it. So I'm actually going to leave the gap on this side because that's the last place I'm going to end up. So just to make sure I have an extra tail if I need it, I'm going to just leave it on this side. And I'm just going to continue going around. So I'm hoping to make it to the other side here. It's a little nerve-wracking. Okay, I'm going to stop here because we have a little bit of a hole to finish, but we can put stuffing in there. So I'm going to go into the pouch and pull out the stuffing. And I like to break it in pieces because this will make it easier to distribute the stuffing later once we've sewn everything all together. We're just going to put this in. Again, I'm leaving that other tail out. We can always cut it if we don't need it. But I have a feeling we might need it to sew the pie filling to the crust. So once you've got all the stuffing in there, we're going to go back and finish closing off our pumpkin. Okay, and then once we've gone all the way around, I'm gonna then find a moment to tie a knot. Right, so we're just gonna go in here, tie our knot. And then once we have that, I'm just going to go in right next to where this piece is here, and I'm going to come out some random spot, doesn't matter where. But when we pull this, we don't want to cause dimpling, so that's what's happening now. Let's straighten this out. And then we're going to cut this part here flush to the surface of the pumpkin filling. And then you can squeeze it to make that end disappear. At the same time, we can also shape our filling. We want it nice and triangular, I guess the word is. I was going to say triangularly. I don't know. Anyway, all right, so we have this piece. We're going to use this because there wasn't much left of that. And we're going to use this to sew the crust. So let's see what it says for us to do. So now we're going to add the crust to the pie. We're going to stitch along the back edge. So that's this right here. This is going to be sitting like this. Okay, so we're going to have to sew this up here like that. I wish there was like a fold already. But what I'm going to do is line it up here. And I'm going to kind of fold this up. Right? And then where it's folded, I'm just going to fold it even more. Remove the filling, make your fold, push it down and hold it. I wish they did like an indentation so that you know where this fold is. And even looking in the photo, it looks like it's bent. It's not even folded, so I don't like that. But if you can even overnight or something, leave a weight on this edge here to give it a nice crisp fold, because pie has a good fold when you cut it out of the pie tin. So we're gonna do this. And then we just have to sew along these edges. So it's a good thing that I had left this out. If you didn't do that, you can just grab, there's plenty of orange yarn left. They gave us a good decent amount of orange. You can just cut a piece and then just tie it on here. But we're going to be tying this. Let me just line this up. I might need to See, it kind of sticks out a little bit, or maybe that's okay. I might just... Yeah, it's okay. I'm just going to stick this through the perforated hole. That's going to pull it. It's going to tuck that end in there a little bit. See what's happening? Then we're going to go back in. It's crazy though, because you'll see that maybe the yarn should have been like a brown. I'm going to go here. And we're going to see wherever this lines up. We want to go around that stitch in the back there. Like that. And then you know what? It has you skipping. But I'm just going to go back into the same... You're going to see it anyway, but you might just have a stronger hold. So I'm just going to go back into that same perforated hole. Oh, I got the fiber fill. Try to avoid the fiber fill because it comes out. And then you can see it. Alright, I just pulled it out. Then we're going to go into the next hole here. And then I'm going to go around a stitch, try to get into that same row, but then I'm going to come back into that same perforated hole. So you see what I'm doing? I'm just going back in and out and using the stitch to kind of keep it from unraveling. But I feel this way there's a stronger hold on it. And on top of that, it's just going to make a nice line in the back of the crust. If you're going to have, you know, lines anyway, might as well make it continuous. Because like I said, in the photo, it looks like it's just a dash line. Okay, so now we're on the last perforated hole. I'm going to kind of pull this. It didn't... Oh, I see what's happening. Darn. Just make sure that there's no slack. I like to have things nice and kind of tight. Okay, and then this last part, we're going to go around the edge here. And see where we folded it? It has a nice crisp mark. So now we also have to sew this corner so that we sew it down. So what I'm going to do actually, I'm going to feed this through, and I want it to come from where I think this perforated dot is going to be. So we'll do that now. Just fish your needle to get out to that spot, and then we're going to attach this corner down. Okay. So once that's down, I just have to find my moment to tie my knot. And then we're going to put this right next to where it comes up. And we're going to come up randomly at another spot somewhere. Pull that. Don't pull it too much. You don't want it to dimple. We're going to cut this flush. And then you can just squeeze your project to make that end disappear. And then I'm just gonna manipulate the stuffing so that I can get the shape to look right, like that. Okay. Now we have to take out the pipe cleaner. Let's just dump all this other stuff too. And we've done that, and we just have to twist this to make the dollop. So we're just gonna go in like a spiral, and it's gonna get bigger as it's going down. And then where this end is, we're just gonna stick it somewhere on the top. And I'm just gonna spin this. I'm gonna try to spin that end in there. Try to get that stuck in so that it's stuck in there. Okay. Like that. I think I could do better than that. Alright, so we got our dollop of whipped cream. Oh my gosh. We cannot with this mix here. Alright. And then somehow it says stick the pie crust leaf. I mean, really? How do you intend on me doing that, sir? Because I guess the other end, I'm just going to put it through this leaf. It doesn't say, really. And this might not be the best way to do it. No, because why would that even exist? It just says stick it on there. I wish it told you how. You could sew it on there with the pie crust. Maybe we'll do that. Alright, because I have no other way of attaching it. How are you supposed to attach it? I'm going to cut a piece of this orange yarn, thread it up. Then I'm going to come in here. I'm just going to go through the hole that they gave us. And I'm going to tie this twice around the leaf. We'll tuck in this end later, if I can. Hopefully I can. I'm just going to go underneath now and come up through this side. And I'm just going to go around this way and tie my knot. And it's random. I didn't plan where to put this, so if you don't like the positioning, you can... I mean, if you had a glue gun, go ahead. You know, I would say so, since there's felt stickers, and I wouldn't put this in the wash. I don't think it's going to work out because the stickers will wash off. So you could use a hot glue gun to glue your leaf. But I'm not going to pull that out. That's just too much work. And not everybody has a hot glue gun. But if you have that, use it. Alright, I'm going to try to thread this. I might have tied it too short. But I'm just going to stick this. Try to stick it into the project. Preferably near the knot. And then come out randomly through another side and drag that into the project. And come back out. So that's in there. Okay, and now we're going to stick on the eyes and mouth. So it's going to be on this side. Alright. This got pulled too much. But anyway, we'll do it on this side. We're going to first put on the mouth to make it nice and even. Where we want it. Okay, so let's say we'll put it here. Then you're going to want to make sure that you pinch that down. Make sure the adhesive touches as much of the surface as possible. You could take some sewing thread and a fine needle to sew the edges. If you really want that to stay, then I'm going to take one of the eyes and we're going to start placing that on. Okay, situate the eyes to make it just right. Again, make sure you just push that down and hold it so that it gets a chance to settle in there. And then we're going to take the other eye. And then you're going to want to make sure it lines up and everything. And that it's even. I'm going to pinch that down as well. Alright, so here we have our pumpkin pie. Oh my gosh, look at it. Looks like cotton candy more than whipped cream, but okay. Oh. So here we have it. Let me know how it went, you guys. So, alright. So I did some of the requests right now. I'm going to continue with a 5 Below crochet kit. Someone had requested that. And then after that, I'm going to do a couple of Dollar Tree kits. Haven't done those in a while. And then we're going to go back onto the 5 Below stuff. I have Wicked coming up, and that movie, the second movie's coming out too. Click that like button if you like Wicked. And then I do have a lot of kits that I'm going to get through from Annie's. For those that know who Annie's is, you make Afghans, and they're a great way to learn how to crochet, doing different stitches, because each block is like a certain stitch. It's fun. It's really good stuff. So I've got that to do. And then we're going to do all these Christmas things. I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping to get through Frozen. I have a Frozen kit I got last year, actually. So it's a lot. It's a lot, you guys. I hope you guys are enjoying the videos, and I hope they are helping you. I'm just trying to crank them out as fast as I can. It gets a little tough, but I'll get through it. At any rate, I also wanted to throw in there that we are doing a special NFL 18-week NFL giveaway on my original channel. I'll leave a link for my original channel in the description box below. I'm sharing it with you guys because I am picking a craft winner for that, which are viewers like you, and I think that the giveaway is going to be beneficial to you. So what I'm giving away is a bunch of goodies along with a gift card, as well as a 1-hour virtual session to go over any projects that you might need help with, or if you just want to learn how to knit or crochet. Or if you are inspired to start a channel, or if you currently have a channel and need some advice, we can talk about that. All right, you guys, so that's it. Thank you so much for watching. This is Isms by Josie. Please share, like, and subscribe for future videos, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks. Bye.